Imagine a group of revolutionaries tired of tyranny, hungry for liberty, and ready to throw off the chains of political oppression. They are prepared to risk everything for freedom. They want an end to the monarchy. They want a republic, a democratic form of government based on we the people. So they launch this revolution for human freedom, and to the amazement of the world, they're successful. They overthrow the old regime. They defeat the king and his army, and they write a new constitution.
Let us, in sealing our work with our blood, see at last the early dawn of universal bliss. That is our ambition and our goal.
But there is no sign of the dawn of universal bliss. Something goes terribly wrong with this revolution. Instead of liberty, equality, and fraternity, we get new forms of oppression and human misery. Instead of a quest for enlightenment, we get crackdowns on free speech, freedom of the press, freedom of religion. Instead of democracy and the rule of law, we get mob rule and the reign of terror. I'm talking, of course, about the French Revolution. It began on July 14th, 1789, with the storming of the Bastille prison, Bastille Day. That's Independence Day for the French. By the way, if you're an American, July 14th, that is the best day to be dining at a French restaurant because the waiters will be very nice to you. Back to our story. The French Revolution began with a rage against absolute power. It ended with a government powerless to govern. It ended with a man on horseback, with a dictator for life. There were two political revolutions for freedom in the 18th century. The one that began in Paris collapsed into tyranny. But there was another revolution launched here in Philadelphia in 1776.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
For the first time in history, a political revolution declares, yes, declares, the natural rights and equality of every human being. Universal rights that can't be taken away because they come from the hand of God.
Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government.
Some people talk as if the concept of self-evident truths and natural rights came out of nowhere, came from outer space. But of course they didn't. The American colonists, most of them are from Great Britain, so when they're rebelling against the crown, they are claiming their chartered rights as Englishmen. They're already among the freest people in the world. They've got the Magna Carta, which said that no political ruler was above the law. They've got the English Bill of Rights. They've got constitutional government. They've got the self-governing assemblies, the town hall, and they've got the political writings of the English philosopher John Locke. No one was quoted more often by the colonists during the Revolutionary period. In fact, most of the ideas that fueled the American Revolution, they can be found in John Locke's two treatises of government published in 1689. Ideas about human freedom, equality, natural rights, the responsibility of government to secure those rights, and the right of people to rebel against that government when it violates their rights. All of these ideas can be found in the writings of John Locke.
Whenever the legislators endeavor to take away and destroy the property of the people, or to reduce them to slavery under arbitrary power, they put themselves into a state of war with the people.
Well, you can see why Locke's approach to freedom was like an incendiary bomb for the colonists. The only question now is, why did the American Revolution succeed where the French Revolution would fail? Let's find out. If you want to understand why the American Revolution succeeded, this is a pretty good place to start. We're at the Faith and Liberty Discovery Center on Independence Mall here in Philadelphia. This Bible, this is the first English language Bible printed in America in 1782, thanks to Robert Aiken. It's small enough for the soldiers, the American revolutionaries, to take it into battle, unlike the French. The Americans draw great strength from the Bible, the teachings of the Bible. Think about the narrative arc of Scripture. In the Old Testament, we have the story of God rescuing the Jews from the slavery of Egypt, bringing them into the freedom of the Promised Land. In the New Testament, the story of Jesus, saving his people from the slavery of sin and the fear of death. For the Americans, the Bible is the freedom book. Next to the Declaration and the Constitution, it could be called America's third founding document. Unlike in France, the American revolutionaries, they've got the backing of the nation's clergy from across denominations. The Reverend John Witherspoon, the president of the College of New Jersey, now Princeton, he is typical in his enthusiasm for the revolutionary cause. He's a Scottish Presbyterian minister, but he's also a patriot. He's one of the 56 to sign the Declaration of Independence, and he personifies that powerful bond between faith and freedom that characterized the American Revolution.
God grant that in America, true religion and civil liberty may be inseparable.
But there's an elephant in the room, isn't there? What about the existence of slavery in the American colonies? The British author Samuel Johnson, he pointed out the hypocrisy of the revolutionaries, many of whom owned slaves. How is it, he said, that we hear the loudest yelps of liberty from the drivers of Negroes? You know, many colonial Americans, they have a guilty conscience about slavery. Patrick Henry, for example, confessing his own guilt and hypocrisy, he said he looked forward to a time when an opportunity would present itself where we could abolish this lamentable evil. The American Revolution creates the opportunity because the Declaration proclaims, for the first time, a nation is coming into existence as the sworn enemy of human slavery. The revolution puts the institution of slavery on notice all over the world. Its days would be numbered. We used to know this history. Abraham Lincoln knew it. Lincoln said that he never had a political sentiment that was not embodied in the Declaration of Independence. Yes, Lincoln, the great emancipator. Why did the American Revolution succeed? It succeeded because at the moment of its birth, it brought together the right ideas, the right institutions, and the right kind of people to lead them. What kind of men and women did this revolution produce? Well, there was no brutal campaign to silence dissent. There was no assault on the Christian churches or the teachings of the Bible. There was no guillotine. There was not a Robespierre among them. Their man on horseback, he wasn't a Napoleon. He was a Washington. A Washington, the man who resigned his military commission before an elected assembly. He resigned it willingly, obediently, for the sake of the Republic. What kind of men and women did this revolution produce? Listen to the words of Abigail Adams, wife of John Adams. She's writing to her son, John Quincy, during the war. She's trying to persuade her son to get on a boat, cross the Atlantic, and join his father in the fight for freedom.
It is not in the still calm of life that great characters are formed. The habits of a vigorous mind are formed in contending with difficulties. Great necessities call out great virtues and form the character of the hero and the statesman.
If you got a letter like that from your mother, what would you do? You'd get on the boat. The character of the hero and the statesman, it's forged in the fires of a great contest, a great difficulty, in the crucible of war. And war has come upon them. With a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, they wrote, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. The greatest political revolution for human freedom in the history of the world has begun.